You do
Oh,
that. Shaking the hot shot. Gradually.
oh, don't do that one.
Oh, just the click of when it comes off.
Oh,
And then the...
Don't laugh. You can't sip it. What are you doing?
God, that's
a hot
I'll tell you
shot.
what, that is a hot shot right there. Oh, I don't know if I can shot that.
Right.
Right,
Oh,
come on.
hang on.
lads.
Oh, I've just whacked my mic.
So
Oh, it's all
today's Uncommon Man podcast is sponsored by Pret Hot Shot, cold pressed, orange, turmeric, and cayenne. Cayenne.
Bottoms up. It's so good for you.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers.
Cheers, Sid.
Cheers to Uncommon Man Day.
Cheers.
Ugh. Right,
Okay,
down
wait,
the
so we're
hatch, down
shotting
the
it.
hatch. Yeah, we're shotting it. Oh.
Yeah, thank you. That's a better start than last time, mate.
Oh. Yeah, that's actually...
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're so good, aren't they?
Yeah.
You can feel it seeping into your body, can't you? Like,
treating us to that.
just the
Thank you.
goodness.
Yeah.
I guess cash isn't an issue for you anymore. So
No, yeah. Just, I don't even look at the price.
No.
Oh.
just throw a bunch of cash at the cashier. Have that.
Now,
Don't
Uncommon Man Day has come around a little bit quicker, doesn't it? Because we did the recent event at Gymshark.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Awesome. Doing it in a different space.
Yeah.
So Gymshark, they've got their new space, their new, I suppose, shop, but it's so much more than just a shop on Regent Street. And we went down there and ran our first session outside of Uncommon
Yeah.
space. What do you think of it, Mark?
It was good. It was a smaller space, but I had a different setting. And I think there was a few people there that tried it for the first time. That
Yeah.
I could see when they arrived. They were a bit like, don't really know what to expect. There's one guy who'd just done was a yoga class or something, and he just kind of signed up straight away.
Oh,
And then we
yes,
kind
I
of
love that
Blew
guy.
his
Yeah.
mind at the end.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good one. I had a really big experience, but we'll talk about that, I think, towards the end. But
Yeah.
Um,
How are you good? How are you anyway? You're
yeah,
good?
mate.
Yeah?
Mate, yeah, it's coming towards the end of the year. It's been, I think we're going to talk about it a bit today. But kind of, why'd you keep looking at my hair?
Because it's like that.
I need a
We were
haircut.
talking about this on the way in.
I like it.
It looks like you've been licked by a cow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, nice.
That's why we're
Josh, how are you, mate?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm in jovial spirits.
Great.
I thought the Gymshark event was very good, by the way.
Yeah.
You know the lighting helps with the mood, doesn't it?
Different lighting. I mean, lighting at Uncommon is great as well. It was a different vibe though.
Yeah, it creates a different vibe. Yeah, no, I thought it was good. I see that. By the way, the Gymshark shop's mad.
Yeah.
The fact that they've got that space out the back there and you can...
Yeah.
I'm not just bigging them up to get people to go and sign up for it, but the fact that you can go and do all that for free, it's mad. Did you see they did a live in the shop, like fitness
Us?
class the other day?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
because
do,
all
like,
the
they
clothes
do-
go up in the ceiling, don't
Yeah,
they?
they do 2 a day or something.
Where they just do it live in the shop and all
Well,
the
no,
clothes go up?
they've got the fitness room at the back. They've got I think like 3 spaces. They've got a little PT room.
Yeah, but this
and
was actually in the main
thing.
shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we should do an Uncommon Man in there one time.
Yeah.
If you're watching, matey who runs Gymshark,
Ben.
Ben.
Yeah.
Do you know Ben?
Yeah. No. Well.
You probably don't,
No,
I
I
guess,
don't
these days.
Anyway, so I thought
I don't know him, but he knows me.
The breathwork guy.
So our last Uncommon Man of the year. It started in November last year, so it feels like, yeah, it's kind of done a proper full year now, and we're coming to the end of the calendar year. So are we going to sort of just reflect a little bit and talk about some of the highs and lows or whatever that have come about this year?
Yeah.
Do you like that
Yeah.
idea?
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. Marcus,
He got nothing for you.
you were gonna tell me about the Gymshark event.
No, this isn't about me to begin with. This is just about Uncommon Man as an event. And that's
Highlight.
what we'll talk about.
Mark,
We'll
tell
talk
us your
about
highlight of the
Okay.
year, Uncommon Man.
myself. Which one was it? There was one that it's probably back when we used to be in the Borough location, and there was a particular event. I think it was maybe February or March, where we were starting to get a bit more comfortable with okay, because that first one I had no idea what to expect. We weren't sure what it was going to be.
Had you ever done breathwork before you did
I'd done
the
some
first
calming,
session?
like into your nose,
Yeah.
into your mouth, but never conscious connected breathing, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. But by like February or March, we kind of had our personal flow. I knew what to expect, and then we started to have a few people coming, A, back, and B, like I could see differences in them when they were kind of. There's one guy, Ben, for instance, who is a bit of a kind of legend with Uncommon Man. and like seeing the change in him was an amazing thing over like the year. That for me was almost like, okay, what we are doing has much more impact outside than just the three of us. I got loads from it, but seeing kind of, and like not to say we are necessarily helping them because they've got to do the work themselves as well as we, but we're facilitating a space which people can depend on, can come to, and like explore the stuff that maybe they didn't think. There was one guy that said at one point that he hadn't cried since he was a teenager, and he must have been in his 40s at some point. It's like a mad concept that in some way something so simple as the breath can bring about that response. I've got a mate coming tonight that I've been trying to get him to come for since we began, and he's going through some stuff at the moment that I'm really interested to see where like what
He's coming first time.
Yeah. Good. But yeah, it's been cool to see it evolve in the first year. Who knows what's going to happen with in 2023. We've done some cool collaborations. We've got a good space there. Let me think on that about more. What did you guys talk? I'm going to think a little bit more about reflections on the year.
Josh, what's been like the standout moment for you?
Because you have a different perspective in some ways. You're almost like you're in amongst it. You're seeing all the different groups, whereas we could sometimes are in our groups. Or
we're doing the breath work ourselves.
Yeah, I think when you look, I think the highlight for me is more of like looking at it from a broader perspective. Is the kind of range of different men that we get there. Like the fact that the age range is literally like 19 to, I don't know, there's probably people that have been in their 50s that are there. Do you know? Easily, maybe even beyond that. And you get such a wide variety of different, types of men, different sexualities. Like it's a big thing for me that we have quite a lot of gay men that come. Say quite a lot. Like it is quite a lot. And I don't know if you remember, without sharing too much of what was being shared in a private space, but a few of them were sharing in the WhatsApp group about how, to be in that space with men in that way was something they'd never experienced before. And that, like, I think that was quite a big thing to all three of us at the beginning, that this wasn't going to be like big burly men doing their emotions, because you kind of see that about. And so the fact that we can hold space for such a different variety of men, and you get the share back at the end, and you've got, I remember back when we were at Borough and a gay man talking about how he just started team sports because he, being in a changing room wasn't somewhere that he could be in his life, and he didn't start till he was 30. That like proper made me emotional, because I'd never thought of it. Like the changing rooms kept me alive at one point in my life. Do you know what I mean? Football in the changing room. So the fact that he felt he couldn't start it, so that's like a big learning that I would never have learned without Uncommon Man. And then like recently we had a session where you've got a lad there who's 19 saying, I don't get to be around men in this way. We don't share with the boys. We don't speak in this way. And you go from him to like a bloke in his 50s talking about his adult children seeing him differently since he started.
He seems like a really amazing guy. Like he was, again, without sharing all his story, but has had to step into a role very quickly of basically running a family business. Very young, and he's jumped a whole period of life where most of us are just sort of pissing about. And he is suddenly got all this responsibility, and so he was unable to sort of communicate with his mates too well because they can't empathise with it at all. They're at a different stage of his life, and so that was big. I agree with that. It felt very rewarding that he was able to stumble across it, and that is again some power from social media, that you can chance upon these things. And then when social media actually turns into real life, that's quite cool.
And just the way that they slot into the group. Do you know what I mean? That you've got this 19-year-old lad. I don't know if that particular lad was 19, but I know there was a lad that was there that was 19. And it's not like, it didn't seem out of place, or like you didn't panic and think, is he gonna fit in here? So it's really, to run a space like that, to have that many different types of people, and there'd be no issues at all, neither. Right? Because I've been in different communities in this kind of way before, and sometimes you start getting problems and stuff like that, but we don't have any of that. We haven't had any of it, have we? It's just been amazing, and I've learned a lot from it. I
wonder if it's like I'm really interested to know if there's a shift in the generational. So some of these lads that are coming at 19, 20, whether it's, they're more able to talk about their emotions, and this is a shift we're seeing, like societal, and like this new generation that will come through are just more open about talking about their feelings, or are they like a smaller sub community that just are interested in it? It's like, because when I was 19, I wouldn't have been able to articulate some of the stuff they're talking about in terms of, obviously some of them are going through really tough stuff, but the way they talk about their emotions is like quite free for a lot of them, or they're coming to that point.
Yeah, but I would also say that's testament to the space that we create there as well.
Okay.
Right, with Uncommon Man. I think there probably is something in that, but you know, we send people off in freeze and say, talk about something that's coming up for you. The one thing it's made really clear to me is that men don't struggle to do that. It's a myth that men struggle to do that, because they don't. We don't have men come there and be like, this is like, I don't know what to say. It doesn't happen. They go off and they talk. So it's really shown me, it was something that I was already starting to think, but it's sort of really made it clear in my head, is that you create the right space, and like, men do this stuff easily, right?
Yeah.
Of all ages, they all do it. And again, I think that's testament to the space that we create.
I get so sort of torn, because it's like, I just get the urge to just I want to do more of it. And when I come away from the session, and I'm so pumped up. I'm so like, I feel when I come at the breathwork, you feel so connected to the other guys.
Yeah.
In terms of what they've been sharing, and that you've all come out of this experience together. You've all gone into this sort of heightened state together. You've let out emotions together. You feel so sort of bonded to them, that I just get the urge, like, to just want to do more of it in some way.
Yeah.
But it's such a hard challenge for us, has been trying to keep it moving whilst doing all of our other stuff that we're doing.
Yeah. And you lose that momentum, right, as well. Like, you're buzzing the day after. It's like, we're going to do an Uncommon Man every night, one in every country. Do you know what I mean? You come away thinking that, don't you?
Yeah.
But then, and I guess this is reflective as well of probably the impact that it has on men in general. You come away, and 2, 3, 4 days later, you're back into the everyday stuff that you're doing. And Uncommon Man, if you're not careful, sort of fades. Not fades, but you're not as... On a Tuesday night, we'd take over the world when you come out of Uncommon Man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But by Thursday, it's maybe subsided a bit.
A bit of a byproduct positive that I've had from Uncommon Man is when I go to, like I say, a birthday or a wedding or whatever, where you're meeting new people and you're talking about what you do, and I mentioned that, and I co-run this men's group, and this is kind of what we do, it instantly piques people's interest.
Yeah.
And what that then leads to is you have a really deep conversation.
Yeah.
Because they suddenly will then start talking about, I actually struggle with a bit of that myself, or I could do with a bit of that. And you ask them, oh, really, why? And you suddenly go from talking about what's your commute to work to actually like real deep conversations, which I quite like. Not all the time, but like, if, small talk fucking kills me sometimes.
Oh, it does you.
But if you can like have a real good chat with someone, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It can switch like what can be a bit of a emotionally draining situation to something that is like charges you up and fires you up. And that's been really, really nice. So I've actually, just by doing Uncommon Man, had better conversations and probably formed deeper connections with people who haven't even been.
I get so I get that conversation a lot with people where they're really interested. I also get the other side of the conversation where like, oh yeah, I've done one of those breathwork things. Like, it's like you're all like sitting down in a circle, like shaking maracas and all that sort of stuff, isn't it? And like, they're the ones that I kind of want them to come. It's hard to be like, try to explain. Actually, it's probably like the opposite of what you think it is in that aspect. So I think they're the ones I want to try and get to in 2023. Like, drag some more people along. That, as I know, there's certain people we know that would like to come along to kind of. Almost like the part of me wants to prove them wrong a little bit, and that like competitive part to me, but like, just come along and try it. It's probably not what you think it is at all in many ways.
Coming back to you, Josh, reflecting on the year, not just away from Uncommon Man, but one of the themes for tonight is about, we're going to get the guys to reflect. We're actually going to do a little written exercise where they're going to have a chance to reflect on things that they've overcome or worked through this year, or potentially still working through and they're making progress with. I'd like to flip that on you on the spot and see this year what do you think have been the biggest things or the biggest thing that you've sort of overcome or worked through?
I think the biggest thing that I've worked through, and it's funnily enough related really to Uncommon Man and to yourselves, both of you, is that ability. I've always used the fact that I lead the sessions, as a way of protecting myself from having to do any of the work in communion. So I've done a lot of work on myself. There's no doubt about that over the last 10 years, obsessively at times. But I think what I've lacked is doing that properly in communion. I've always done group work, and I've always been passionate about the importance of group work, but I always hold a little bit back. And I think over time, certainly this year, and I've been working on it for the last 2 or 3 years, is really trying to step myself into that space to make sure that I'm, being witnessed as my whole self by people that I trust. I don't trust people easily, particularly men, but anyone in general, and that can be quite a lonely place if you're not careful. So like letting men into my life, I've done it, like I say, over the last couple of years, but both of you now have become close. You know me like really well. I, feel like I can speak to you both about anything, and that's quite new for me. But even when you look at the Uncommon Man that we did at Gymshark, and I joked about it at the end, but we'd been together all day talking, and like we went for a pizza, ham and pineapple pizza. But it wasn't until we set up that exercise at Gymshark and we went in a 3 that the waterworks came on for all 3 of us. So even until we like very specifically went, what's coming up for you? You got 5 minutes targeted to talk about it. It was like that went even deeper, didn't it?
Because it was the first time us 3 had been together.
Yeah, we'd never done that before. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it suddenly went, very deep indeed. When at a stage where you kind of think we kind of know each other pretty well, it suddenly went to another level. And it's amazing how like, after we had kind of all shared, it's like I suddenly, again, felt way more connected to both of you, way more supported. Because it's like, okay, you share something which you might have an element of shame about or regret about or whatever it is, and you are able to then offload some of that weight a little bit. Yeah. And it's not like it necessarily offloads it onto you, it just sort of dissipates a little bit.
Yeah. And the fact that, when you share those things, because you keep them to yourself and you think people, what will people... You hate yourself so much for what you think and feel sometimes that you assume if you tell other people, they'll hate you in the same way. Yeah. And it never happens. And when you tell somebody something, and often, nearly every time, most people, I don't care what it is that you're hiding, most people, if you tell them in the right space, will just nod gently along and normally go, yeah, no, I get it. I've done that. I've done that. And then you're like, oh my... Like, I held that all to myself thinking... the reaction that I would get. But when you do it in the right space, see, and I think that's important for men to understand, there's certain conversations that we have in the spaces, like we had at Gymshark. If you try and bring that up in the pub or in a bit of a sort of highly social area, then you might get people performatively giving the reaction that they think that society wants from them. And then that is going to further compound your shame. So when you create that safe space, like we do at Uncommon Man, and like we have a tendency to do because of this stuff outside of Uncommon Man, I think that is the difference. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
It's such a trusting place, Uncommon Man. I've spoken to people about stuff I've never talked to anybody in my life about. I just kept it in here because I'm like, you're crazy for thinking this or doing these sorts of things. And I like to think, because some of the shares other lads do, I like to think that it's like something that's they can feel comfortable with, and I think that's such an important thing for your mental health, which is what we're trying to help with. The breath work is incredible for that aspect of the things, but feeling like you can trust and connect with some other men that aren't just gonna like call you a pussy or tell you it's gonna be fine, or like actually just listen to you talk about some of your deepest, darkest things. And there's like the trust and connection there really, I think, but especially for me, knowing I got that support, and also it's not just me, it's been good for my mental health. It's well, you said it, I don't know whether we're off camera, I think we're off camera. A big realization for me this year is like it will never end really in terms of this continuing to work on yourself, and like you're also going to have periods where you're like pretty low, but keeping that perspective of coming out the other side around you, especially around your mental health, because I think a lot of people think I can fix it, but there's certain things that you're just going to have to like get better at living with, or like having the other perspective of those sorts of things. So yeah,
Nice.
And life's up and down, right?
Yeah.
So
it's supposed to be easy.
and that's why the regularity of Uncommon Man is helped, yeah. And I won't name any names or talk about anyone, but you see blokes who have turned up and have, you know, 1 month they're talking about just being in this amazing space and feeling like they've got things figured out, and then 2 months later, you can see they're not in a good space again.
Yeah.
And I know from personal experience, when you get in those dark places sometimes, and I'm not talking about necessarily like, they don't have to be the darkest of places, but when I feel crap, like, I'll tell you, my wife is dog sitting at her mother and father-in-law's, yeah? And so every night from 7, my youngest 2 kids go with my wife to her mum and dad's house and stay there the night, and I'm rattling about in this house. And emotionally and mentally, what it's done to me, like you wouldn't believe, yeah? And Saturday
So
night,
you're alone in the house, basically.
my eldest is there, and my boy who's 11, 12
Yeah.
is there, but they're a bit older, and so
They're keeping themselves to themselves.
yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, so I feel like I'm rattling about the house on my own. But what, you know, but what is brought in is like, normally if my wife's there, we put the kids to bed, then we go downstairs together. We might watch a bit of telly together, and then we go to bed. My wife's not there. I get out of the shower. I'm doom scrolling on the phone. I'm doing all of the things that are not good for me. They're not healthy for me. And I realise like how that structure helps me. But also to bring it back to what I was saying, when I go to them like dark places where I don't feel good, it's really hard to remind yourself that this is just an experience and it'll pass. It always feels like I ain't gonna get out of this one. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you relate to that, but I've spoke to a few people who say they resonate with feeling like you're not gonna get out of this one, because the opposite's true as well. When everything's flying and you're going good, you're like, I can't believe I ever allowed myself to do those things or feel that bad. Yeah. And you think I've got it all figured out. Like I'm never going back there. And then boom, something happens and you're back there again and can't remember what it was like when it was good.
I've had an opposite thing recently, whereby when I've had big feelings of anxiousness, it's almost like I've had this thing in the back of my head where it's like, you know that you are going to get through it. So it's been like and I think partly because of all this stuff, right? But so I've felt really like, to the point where a few weeks ago I had like my first sort of panic attack almost. I've had one when I was sort of sleeping, but I was walking to work and I was, you know, getting a bit short of breath and just sort of going like that. I was feeling really, really hot, sick. I get it. I get with the anxiety, I'll get it completely in my body first. Sickness, and then, but I've never had this breath thing before. And even in that moment, I was like, Mark's in the office. I'm going to see him. I'm going to tell him we're going to go for a walk and it's going to be okay. Like, I knew it was okay. And I've been like, because I've almost, my whole thing this year has just been like peeling back the layers, like to the point where in the last Gymshark event, well, no, the one before last, you remember I was punching the ground.
Yeah.
And I've fucking hurt my hand as a result. But like getting to those root emotions that you've kind of kept in for whatever reason, be that anger or shame or just sadness or whatever it is, I've really been trying to force myself into those places to fucking like get it out now, because there's only so many years you can keep it, you know, held in. And the stopping the drinking as well, like a month ago when after the Uncommon Man, there's a bit of realization, it's like just have a time away from the booze. Not that I was drinking massive amounts or that regularly, but I had, like I talked about on this podcast before, you know, I'm not very good if I've had quite a lot of drinks at like being in control, and I just literally black out and anything can happen. In the past, it's been fights and whatever. And it's like, I've got 2 kids now. So even though it's been like really almost like emotionally, like one of the hardest years for me, I feel so empowered and like pumped as a result. It's like I've got way more of like a growth mindset around everything. Like getting through weddings and engagement parties and all this without drinking any booze. I didn't think that I'd actually be able to do that, and had a better time, if anything. And then working through a lot of this stuff, again, you think like, I'm never going to be able to talk about that to someone, and then you do, and it's like, wow. And I've started to feel like anything is possible in a way. And so yeah, and it's been a gradual thing. It's been turning up every month, you know, to do this stuff, and gradually, it's kind of got there. And I kind of joked at the end of the last session. It's like, I think I'm at the seabed now.
I remember you saying.
I think I've got to the depths of the ocean now, and I think now I can sort of swim gently.
More, mate.
There's
Wait,
more.
you'll find a trap door, mate.
Yeah.
Trust me. That's what they say. There's a trap door, mate. You'll find it.
We'll help you tonight find that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've, like, in different ways, had a similar year to you in that emotionally one of my hardest years, but I've also set out to try and find out about myself more and like understand who I am and why I am in certain ways. And it's been like, I've had intense periods of like pretty shit emotions and like hating life and myself a little bit, and then coupled as we come out this other side, I've had a real realization of how I've changed as a human as well, in terms of like last year I became single for the first time in like 6 years, and I assumed when I became single that I was still the same person that I was 6 years ago, where the way I dealt with things and viewed life. And recently I've come to the realization, actually, like, over the course of 6 years, I have changed a lot as a person, and the things that have happened in my past now have affected the way I view and deal with things, which is an interesting realization for me to be like, okay, I need to like understand this again, of why am I being like this in my life again. It's a new kind of almost chapter of me as a person, which is, I'm gonna like be carrying that into 2023. So I'm interested to see how I kind of, not that I've been torn apart, but like put myself back together in this new way next year. That's been my biggest thing this year, of like trying to understand, which I'm still working towards, but like, why am I this? What do you think I was going to say?
I don't know. I thought you were going to say something.
What do you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say something like really self-deprecating, like, why am I this fucking,
No.
you know, evil fucking.
Yeah. No. It wasn't going to be that dark.
You paused
Okay.
right at the right time.
It was, yeah, that's what made
You
me
just
laugh.
allowed everybody to fill in the gap. Why am I
I
this?
was hanging on your every word, and then I was like, there's a punchline here.
Yeah. But
Why am I this?
Go on, yeah.
say people
Let's
pleaser.
play the
Oh,
game.
people pleaser.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Because I went, "Puh," didn't I? I thought you said,
People
thought you think I
pleaser.
said prick,
Yeah.
but no.
Okay.
And amongst these other things. So yeah, that's been.
Why do you think you are a people pleaser?
Uh,
Or is that pending?
No, like I am working because.
Oh, I've asked you a deep question.
No,
You can say pass
fine.
if you want.
No, let's do it. Come on, let's loosen up.
Because historically, if I have upset people growing up as a child, it meant like they left or they were angry at me, and like emotionally, I describe it as emotional warfare. It's probably a bit over the top, but that's how it was.
Yeah.
And so still now, even like a slight argument or disagreement to me is, well, that's them off, or that's like the end of things. And so that elicits that. So I'd learned, I think we talked about this last time, I learned keep it quiet, and then they won't be upset, but you'll be upset, but that's fine because you can just like live with that. So trying to, still, it's like, we talked about this in the last episode, but I know it's going to take months, if not years, to kind of undo that work. But I was talking to Rob we've got this nice little tradition at the moment where we go for a little walk on a Monday morning. For the first time in this kind of period of my life, I'm trying to be a bit more selfish and like think about myself more. What do I want? What do I need? What do I need from all of my relationships and life? Because historically I've just tried to kind of either let other people take the lead or potentially like not think about myself too much, and then just you kind of going to get washed along a little bit. And I've been happy in my life, but it's like I can probably get more if I.
And then you have resentment.
Yeah,
as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you get left feeling misunderstood
Yeah,
in relationships,
exactly.
don't you? Because like if you're particularly if it's in a relationship where you're trying to like, if you love someone or you're trying to like build a relationship, it becomes very easy when they ask you stuff to just, as a people pleaser, to give them the answer that you know that they want.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that can leave you feeling misunderstood or being in places doing things that you don't really like, but that you've told somebody you like because you know it'll make them happy.
Even as extending as far as like friends ask me to come to gigs with them that I don't really like the music, but you're just gonna get pissed or whatever,
Yeah.
and then just go and get through the night thinking, "Oh, I hope this ends soon." I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
Why am I going?
why am I going to these events? So I'm like, stop. Not this has actually been the last couple of years being like, I'm not going to come because I don't actually enjoy that type of music or whatever the type of event is, rather than just going for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Such a
I've had a similar experience to that, but slightly. I think it comes from a slightly different place. So I'll have like people be like, "Oh, do you want to go for a run? Do you want to do a workout together? Do you want to, I don't know, start this thing or blah 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 blah." blah. And because I want to be seen as the guy who I can do it all. You know, I can take on quite a lot. I have pretty high capacity. You know, I can turn my hands to different things. I'll want to say yes, and then I just grind myself down from all these commitments to the point where I can't execute at a high level on any of them.
Yeah.
And then I'm feeling shit about myself because I'm even further away from that person that for whatever reason I want to kind of be seen as.
Yeah.
And then judging myself and then potentially like slightly resenting, you know, those people. So it's similar kind of actions, but almost coming from a completely different spot.
yeah.
Yeah, and I do that as well.
Yeah.
I'm getting much better actually from a work perspective now. I'd be like turning up to do something and be thinking why have I, and then I'd be hating, like, I don't know, right? I don't want to like make it sound like I'm talking about anyone in specific, but I'll be on a call with someone and in my head I'll be thinking, you're fucking annoying me that I'm on this call with you, right? Because I shouldn't have done it.
They've done nothing wrong.
They've done nothing wrong at all. Nothing wrong at all. They've asked me if they could have a call
That's
for
the key
something,
thing.
whatever it might be, and I'm there, and I've said yes. And that happens in my relationships. You know, that can be with my wife. Like I could be somewhere and think, I fucking don't want to be here, and you fucking made me come here. But they haven't made me come here, like you said. They haven't made me get on a call. They've asked me, and I've said yes. Not only have I said yes, I've said yes really nicely. Like I'd love to. So I'm getting much better at being. My wife's like really good at it to the point of where it can sometimes make me feel a bit awkward. She's like, no, I'm not doing it. We went to like,
that.
and I'm getting much better at it. Like social events, I'm not a big fan of them. I don't like them. I don't like being at them massively. Not big events with loads of people that I don't know. I'm very good now at just saying, no, I don't want to come to that. No, right? And people are starting to get to know me, to know that I don't particularly like them. But it's not, it makes me cringe sometimes when my wife is just...
Why don't you like social events? Out of interest.
Because I don't like all the load of small talk, and I don't like there's always a big facade at them. Everybody's not really being who they really are.
That's the tiring thing, isn't it?
And I just don't like it. And it, like I don't like the, oh, hey, how you doing? All right, yeah. Oh, you do that? What do you do? Oh, yeah. No, like I'm a resilience coach. So I sort of like work with people to, oh, yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, you're this. I don't like what it just really drains me. And because I'm too sensitive and intuitive, I'm too in tune. And then you might be stood with a group of 5 people and everyone's talking shit. You can see someone's miserable and they're talking about how happy they are, because that's what you do at social events. I just don't like it.
Sometimes it's like you think, what the fuck is going on? Like,
Yeah.
Like, this is so weird. We're all like dressed up in these clothes and we're in this
Like what
big
do they
room.
just do at social occasions, like in the I don't know what, say the 1300s, they all meet up. Are they going like, are they still having these shit chats? It's like a modern thing that we've just like skirt around.
They'd be like, oh, nice robe.
yeah.
Nice sandals, mate. Well, they all just get drunk, innit? That's why you have alcohol, because
Yeah.
social events are shit, so you have to get drunk.
Yeah.
So why is that though? Is it because we don't want to interact with this big group of people? Like if we had social interactions with the people we care about, or are we just like not social
It
beings?
feels forced, doesn't it?
It's when it's forced.
It feels forced. It feels unnatural. It feels like you're suddenly stepping into a room where you've got to, like you said, you're you feel like you have to come across in a certain way.
You have to play a
certain
role.
people. You have to play a role, and that is one of the most tiring things. Ties back to everything that we kind of talk about when you're like you got a mask up in some.
Yeah, and I'd much rather be in a group, say, like a social situation. We are social beings.
Yeah.
We do need to socialise. But I'd much rather be in a group with 5 or 6 people that I feel like I can be really myself around, that I can, you two understand me. I make jokes that are like, I quite like humour that's quite near the knuckle. And then I'll also like talking about really deep stuff, yeah? I don't want to be at a social event going, oh, is this your wife? Hiya, what do you do? I fucking don't care what you do. I honestly don't care what you do. I actually don't even care that this is your wife. I don't even care that you're here. I don't even know you.
And this was to Rob's wife last time they met up.
I'm being overly dramatic about it, but that is
yeah.
what goes on in my head a little bit.
I've got a friend who he sometimes he won't mind me saying, sometimes will piss people off a bit at social occasions. But he comes in and he's just himself. He'll just be himself and he'll say whatever he wants. And sometimes he'll stir the pot a bit because it's like, well, why not? Let's, cause a bit of entertainment.
Yeah.
And some people obviously like, oh gosh, you're not abiding by the social rules. And
Yeah.
stuff like that. He doesn't care and he seems to always have a good time. Like,
Yeah, my wife's the same. We're going now. We'll be at a social event and we'll be going really early. I'll go, I want to go. Should we go? My wife's like, yeah. My wife will be like, we're going now. Oh, why are you? It's early. Are you going? Yeah. We've had enough.
yeah.
You got to put the dogs away.
Yeah, the dogs.
And the kids, and I want to make excuses.
The
But
main
she'll say
reason
we're going. We've had
people
enough.
get dogs, isn't it? So they can be like, got to get back for the dogs.
Yeah. I'm all like, if people are over, like coming down in my pajamas and then putting the kettle on and starting to put stuff away, just hoping people
Just
will
start
go.
tidying up around them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me, mate. Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, if anybody listens to this and the next social event I'm at, no one's coming near me.
No. But wouldn't that already be a better conversation? They come up to be like, I hear you fucking hate these things, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't care what I do. And then immediately you'd have quite a good conversation.
Like I've been overly harsh. I do care what people do.
course.
Right? I
No,
do.
we know
care,
you're
but
joking, we know you're joking.
I'd rather talk about it in a more of a. Let's be real. Yeah.
So what would be, okay, if we were at a social event
Yeah.
and I saw you, I like the look of you.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
Yeah. And what would be a good opening line? A friend chat up line, shall we say?
Hi, mate. I'm not going to speak to you because there's fucking no need, is there? We're never going to see each other again.
Are we going to play this game or can we just stand next to each other so we don't look like we're standing alone? That would probably be quite good, wouldn't it?
No. Look, I think I don't know, man. I just find them awkward, and then you have that piece where it's all right if I'm there with my wife because I just mess about with my wife, yeah, and just joke about everything. But sometimes with the work that we do, yeah, I'm on my own. I have to go to them on my own, and then you're sort of stood there like someone gets eye contact with you. Oh, hi. Oh, and you're like, oh, hi. So, why are you here then?
You're like,
I know.
Yeah, hi, yeah.
I know so and so. Oh, how do you know them? I did a bit of work with them a little while ago. Oh, nice. And then you're like, now you're fucking stood here. I was all right a minute ago. Now you're stood here. We're gonna have to talk more.
It's going to nip to the
Lou,
yeah.
That's why I like Ricky Gervais's, office awkward
Yeah.
humour, because I just pick up on all of the kind of.
Yeah.
And then another thing is, right, what's getting a little bit worse with it now is my memory's terrible. I don't remember people. I don't remember names. I don't remember.
That's a good trick to use, that one.
But I don't. Right, I'm really, really bad. And then I'll get people that come over and go, "Hiya," and I'm panicking.
Yeah.
Do I know this person? Do they know
so,
who I am?
How do you respond? Hi, how you doing? You kind of got to go middle ground. It
Yeah,
can't be
yeah, yeah.
Pretend like you know them.
Yeah. Oh no,
But it
that's
can't
exactly
be.
what I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. I've been in full conversations with people before, and then I've got, and it's worse when that's worse when I'm with my wife, because I can't introduce them.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like, this
yeah.
is my wife.
Yeah.
I think I fucking done it.
Roz is renowned for that. She'd just be like, hey to someone, and I'll be like, you gonna introduce me? She's like, I don't know their name.
Yeah, that's Leah used to get offended. She used to think, why do you never want to introduce me? And I think it's because I don't know who people are.
You usually go, this is my wife. What's your wife's name again?
Leah.
Leah. This is my wife, Leah. And then they go, I'm
They got-
No,
they
because
got
I'd be
stuck in.
paranoid
I'm
that they did.
Nathaniel.
I'd be paranoid that they'd go. So once, yeah, well, I was at this event and there was a guy I used to go to the gym with, and
So where?
pardon,
You used to go where?
to the gym with.
Did you?
You go.
I was the cleaner there, right? So I knew him really well. Saw him every morning. You know, he'd always say hello, Josh, and all of that. Yeah, right. I was on the treadmill. He was doing biceps. But I went to the social event anyway, and I was like introducing my wife to everyone. I don't know if it was my wife. This might have been that long ago that it was like an ex-girlfriend or whatever. But I went. So this is Rob. This is Mark, and they were all stood in a line. And I started getting towards the end, and I thought, shit, I don't know his name. And so I kind of like let it phase out a little bit, right? And thought I'm just gonna, and I pretended something happened. And my mate Scott Buchanan, big up, was like, and the last one, Josh, what's his name? Because he realised what had happened. And I was going like that. I was like, no, go on. You've introduced her to everyone else. Do him on the end. What's his name? And I didn't know, man. I got for myself sinking into my.
You know his name now?
No, I think it was Ben, man. I think it was Ben.
Oh,
Ben.
God. Good old Ben.
What's your name?
What's my name? Call me whatever you want, mate. I don't mind.
One thing you want to do with Uncommon Man next year?
Outdoor meetups.
Don't steal my answer.
What?
That was not going to be my answer.
It was my idea.
Josh?
Probably outdoor meetups, mate.
Okay, so
I'd like to do a trek, a walk, meet somewhere at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then all, you know, we don't have to overplan it.
How do you know?
Yeah.
No, but this is the thing, right? When you've got something to do,
Yeah.
it's a complete.
Oh
ball
yeah,
game.
yeah. No, that's a different.
When you're
ball.
outside, and I was thinking like an easy one would just be hiking up Box Hill. There's a really good route. You get a bit of a sweat on.
Where's
easy.
Box Hill?
Down in Surrey, you get a train half an hour from Clapham Junction.
Oh,
Easy to
okay.
get
How
out,
long does it
yeah.
take to walk up it?
Not that long, probably like half an hour, 45 minutes to get up there, and then a bit of a route, and it's probably an hour and a half or something, 2 hours.
Oh, you want longer than that. You want like Ben Nevis or something, don't you?
Well, you can't. I mean, look, one step at a time, Josh. All right,
Why?
we can do Ben Nevis if you want, but
I'd rather do a big mountain.
yeah. But also, it's nice to have a little.
You
little
go and do
day
your
trip as
fucking
well.
90-minute trek, mate. Me and Mark could go Ben Nevis.
We'll smash it.
But you suddenly have all these things that you can look at. You have you're moving,
Yeah.
shoulder to shoulder, like you talk about.
Yeah.
You suddenly have way better chats. Way better chats. And the great thing about when you step into the room at Uncommon Man, you know that everyone there is there and willing to talk about all this stuff.
Yeah.
So there's none of the small talk really. You can kind of get straight into how have you been, and the answer coming back to you is probably pretty genuine and
Yeah.
pretty deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be my thing. I really, really want to do that. I love getting groups of people together to exercise in some way. So that would be right up my street. And I think add another element to it, because we've had a lot of guys come to the events, and we've now got this sort of core group of sort of like 60, 70 guys who are coming pretty regularly, that I think that it would be great for everyone just to get to know each other more. And a WhatsApp group's great, but actually, like, you know, that would be the next step.
Yeah. Yeah. A
Natural
90-minute
progression.
walk.
Yeah.
A walking tour around.
No, but no, I agree, man. I'm joking. I do agree.
I like to tack on. So I'm going to take the outdoor and tack it onto the retreat, where we can cook together, work out together.
Why haven't
do
we
some
done this
ice
yet?
baths.
Why haven't we done this?
Why haven't we done this?
Because we
yet?
talked about this a long time ago. What is it? Is it just because has there been something that's been holding us back? Has it been just the fact that we're busy and we've got other
Yeah,
things
it's just
going
that
on?
We've got to find a venue. Like one of us.
No one
has
can
got
be
to
asked
take
to the admin. Is that
Yeah,
basically what it is?
That's what makes me. That's you
That
know,
is it, isn't
that I think that's what I just. It's one of them things that you look at and then you think, oh, there's a lot to do in that.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably what puts me off. But we should just, if we just booked somewhere and then,
Yeah.
just did a run at it. Mark, you could cook all weekend, didn't it?
Could yeah.
Like-
if anyone knows a venue wants to put us up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do all the breath work and you could do the training.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah. It'd be perfect.
We do it at Box Hill
Yeah.
in
could do.
Surrey. Is there a
We'll
house
go a
near
bit
there?
further out.
Is there a house near there? Like an Airbnb? that you-
I was actually looking up
Let me just.
venues. There's wedding venues and stuff like that with accommodation, but don't know if it's the right vibe. We probably would want to go a little bit further, Cotswolds or Peak District or.
Oh, Cotswolds would be banging, mate, because that's where I live.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just
I don't live in the Cotswolds. I live just on the outskirts. Give it a couple.
Depending on us.
Give it a couple of years. Though, yeah.
So, how are we going to hold each other accountable to that, or is this going to be something we talk about on a podcast that never happens?
So I think we should do it, and I think we should try and do it in March. Because I think you want it to be a bit cold, actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you know
When
what I
did
mean?
we do the Three Peaks? Was it
Which
March?
time? Well, twice.
I think the first time, because it was like it was like, oh no, I've gone to the Lake District. I climbed Helvellyn in March
Where's Helvellyn?
in the Lake District, and
Helvellyn.
it's you go up. I went with Roz, and we were like, oh yeah, the weather was like fine, and we looked at like the local weather in the area, and it was like, oh yeah, it's going to be like 12, 15 degrees or whatever. So we go up, and my dad, who was in the army, was like, okay, just Rob, have you got an OS map, and have you got this? I was like, Dad, Jesus, you can get all the maps on your phones. Like, honestly, you don't need to. So have you got gloves? And I was like, I don't think so, but I'm sure, I'll be all right, kind of thing. Anyway, I end up sticking some, my mum one Christmas bought me these like leather gloves, which I was never ever going to wear, but they were in the car for some reason. So I shoved them in my bag, and Roz had got like a anorak or whatever. We're in like, not hiking boots or anything, just like trainers, and with grippy kind of trainers, sports trainers. And we go up, you walk up this big ascent, and then you get to something called Striding Edge. And Striding Edge is pretty scary.
It's
Have you done it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
So it's basically these like
Yeah, it's not-
jagged rocks with these massive falls
Really
either
thin.
side, really thin. Like and it was windy as well. And I was like, this is mental. Why has no one warned me? And I was like, oh yeah, my dad did warn me about this.
Ross, you go first.
Yeah, yeah. So we managed to get across this, and neither Roz or I are particularly good with heights. It then goes down a bit before the final ascent up to there, and I go, Roz, is that snow up ahead? She's like, yeah, I think it's snow. And we get there, and you've got to climb up this thing. It turns out it's not snow, it's ice. And the people in front of us get out ice axes. Okay? So we're now there, the weather's coming in, it's windy, it starts snowing, and these people in front of us get their ice axes out and start climbing up this thing. And I'm like, what are we going to do? We can't go back over that because the weather's coming in. It's getting really windy and snowy. And these people catch up with us, and they go, are you about to go up there? I was like, yeah. And they were like, we were just following you. You looked like you kind of knew what you were doing. And I was like, oh God, are we going to
Leather
kill
gloves
these
will give
people?
away.
Yeah, leather gloves. So we end up just having to literally like dig our hands in, get up this. It was so slippy. Bearing in mind, if you fall, you die. Like honestly, if you fall, you go down all the way, I don't know, a couple of 100 feet into one of the like lakes, down a rocky cliff edge. So it felt mental. I was like, how are we in this situation? I go first, manage to get up after a few skids, and then I get over the top, and I look back, and Roz is climbing up, and she gets to the top, and she suddenly slips, and her head goes down under the bit where I can see her. And I just suddenly thought, I had this realization. I was like, I might just watch my wife die right now. Right now, I might just watch her die. And eventually, I'm like trying to, we're basically like almost crying. Eventually, I'd try and like encourage her to keep going, blah, blah, blah. And she gets up and she just like runs over to me and we just have this big hug and both start crying. And I was like, that was absolutely insane. So what I'm saying is, let's start with Box Hill.
No, mate, you've sold that to me, man.
That's on the official trailer.
Yeah, can you imagine losing a couple of uncommon men, but the like core of us make it?
Yeah, which ones aren't they?
We could do a podcast about Dave who fell at the top and what a good guy he was, and how he shared about all of his like life aspirations before he fell. Let's do that, man.
We were in the pub afterwards and we overheard this old guy being like, and then we came across these guys who didn't even have ice axes. They don't know what they were doing. We're like, yeah, that was us. But anyway, that's...
So Uncommon Man Retreat 2023.
Yeah.
2023 is coming.
We're going to do it.
We better wrap this up, have we?
Yeah, we're done. We're done.
We're done.
Gents, it's been a pleasure of a year doing this with you both.
And
I've absolutely loved it.
yeah, same.
I've absolutely loved it. I've gotten a lot from it. And coming back to why we set it up, which really it was a space very much for us selfishly, for ourselves, to be able to explore all this stuff.
Yeah.
And if I know the guys have got stuff from it as well, but personally, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I love you guys, man. And
Love you
I'm
guys.
honestly, to celebrate, I'm looking forward to Mark taking me up the Shard later.
Did you make the booking in the end?
I have made the booking for
Good.
the Shard. The
Through
build-
gritted
building.
teeth, you made the booking.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't. It wasn't.
where I wanted. to
No,
go, but,
you thought we were selling out.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Mark
Fun.
wants is he wants this sort of dark, like
No.
like wonky seat little Korean restaurant where you can't. You've got to like rest like half your bum on the seat and like.
No, that's not what I wanted at all. Just
No.
nice, authentic, like maybe like home cooked Italian with a little nonna in the back, not
We're gonna be up there
corporate Shard.
above the world, looking
paying
at everything.
60 quid for a glass of wine.
We're not drinking, mate.
Water.
Water. That was it.
Won't be
Done.
splitting the bill.
No, I've
Nice one,
also
lads.
loved Uncommon Man this year. Not don't want to end on a dour note, so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it and seeing what next year brings.
Cool.
Hopefully a book.